What's going on with my hair right now? Hello, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's video is going to be an eyeshadow palette collection and also a little bit of a declutter. The products that I find myself just not really reaching for, I want to go ahead and give them to someone who could get more use out of them. So if you are excited for this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you like my content, please go ahead and subscribe down below. That way you're notified for future videos from me. And let's go ahead and get into it. So I am definitely a self-proclaimed eyeshadow junkie. Eyeshadow is my favorite makeup item aside from foundation, and I counted, I have 35 eyeshadow palettes. So some of them are like these little quads, but I'm still counting these as palettes because they're not singles. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I thought that I would go ahead and start off with the more affordable shadows and then work my way up to the more expensive palettes. A few of the most affordable eyeshadows I have are from LA Girl, and I do really like these. So this one right here is in the shade Tranquilize. I bought this because I really wanted to try to get more into the blue shades, but I just feel like I'm not really a blue eyeshadow wearer, and this one just needs to be decluttered and given to a friend who will get more use out of it. The next quad from the Eyelux collection from LA Girl is in Eternalize. This is my favorite quad. This is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes I own in general, even though these are super inexpensive. They're around $5 or $6, and these shades are everything. These right here are the perfect shades for me. I love mauvey pink tones, and I absolutely love this. The next Eyelux little quad, this one right here, is Idolize. I do really like this. It does kind of help me get a more smoky look. I'm usually into soft pink looks, but lately I've been trying to branch out a little bit and go more smoky. And this little quad really helps me do it. These shades are quite nice, and I really think the LA Girl shadows are such good quality for the price. A couple more affordable eyeshadows that I own are from Wet n Wild. So these are both actually kind of new discoveries. Everyone is always talking about these little color icon trios. This one is Walking on Eggshells. These are really nice shadows. I really like these. I feel like they perform just as well as high-end shadows, and I think these are $3.99. The next Wet n Wild palette that I love is the Au Natural palette, and this is what it looks like. This is in Nude Awakening. These shades are so beautiful to me, and they really remind me of the color scheme of the Naked 3 palette from Urban Decay, which is a $54 palette, and this palette is anywhere between $6.99 and $7.99, but I actually like the quality of the shadows better in this one. I did not like the Urban Decay Naked 3. I went ahead and I decluttered it, and I gave it to my mom. It is a really beautiful eyeshadow palette, but I just feel like the quality of the shadows aren't there, especially for the cost, and this performs so well for how inexpensive it is. Okay, so now I have two palettes from NYX. I actually think I'm going to be getting rid of these, and it's not because they're necessarily poor quality. I just don't really find myself reaching for them, and I already have colors in my collection that I like a little bit better from other brands. So this first one I actually got as a free gift from Ulta. The packaging is really cute. This is what the inside of it looks like. It does have a mirror. And these are the shades, but I'm not really into like the darker shades. I do like the lighter shades, but I have a friend who I think would get a lot more use out of this. And I think that the quality of the shadows is actually really good. And then this next NYX palette, I think these are $11.99. I really love the colors in here, but they're just a little more hard pressed than I prefer. I do kind of like soft, buttery shadows. I don't really mind if there's fallout. These are just so hard pressed that I feel like sometimes they're a little difficult to use, and I think that I just need to get this one out of my collection. Okay, another new palette to me is by e.l.f. This is the Mad for Matte palette. I actually haven't used this yet. I just got it the other day, but look at these colors. It reminds me so much of the original Naked palette from Urban Decay. Even though that eyeshadow palette does have shimmers in it, this one is all mattes, but just look at these. And they feel very creamy. I cannot wait to use these, and this eyeshadow palette is $10. And here's a makeup palette that I got from Makeup Revolution. This one is going to be decluttered. I just don't reach for it. It has a lot of different shimmery shades in it. The entire palette basically is shimmer. This is in...
What's the name of this?
This is in the shade Mermaid Forever, and I mean, they're pretty, but I just don't really find myself reaching for these. I have other shimmer shades in my collection that I like a lot more. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and talk about my Morphe palettes. So Morphe is a really inexpensive online brand that's really hyped up here on YouTube. There are a lot of influencers that push their products. I know there is a lot of drama surrounding Morphe. Personally, I love Morphe brushes and I like most of their eyeshadows. So the first palette I want to talk about was limited edition palette. This is from the Morphe and Kathleen Lights collaboration. I am of course keeping this. Kathleen Lights is one of my favorite YouTubers here on YouTube, and she actually helped inspire me to want to make YouTube videos, and I love this palette. I literally love every single shade in here. I feel like these shades were made for me, and even like the two pops of green, I feel like they're still beautiful. They're super buttery. They're easy to use. These are great quality. I hope that they bring this one back. Okay, the next two palettes I want to talk about from Morphe are the 25B and 25A. These were also limited edition, and they're okay. So this is what they look like. This one right here is a little more cool tone. This one right here is a little more warm tone. I feel like these are beautiful shades, but I'm just not getting the use out of them I thought I would. I think that a lot of these are hard pressed, and like I said, I'm more into the fluffy, even fallout-y kind of shades. I just am not a huge fan.
The super hard, this doesn't want to stay up, the super hard pressed shadows. So I think I am going to go ahead and keep the 25A, which is the warm one, and I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter the 25B, which is the cool one.
Okay, so this right here is my Morphe 35O. This palette is such a cult favorite, and I do really like it. It has some matte shades, some shimmers. It's very warm. I really do like this. This has 28 pans in it, and the cost is around $20 to $22, which is a pretty good deal. I do like these shadows, and I am going to be holding on to my 35O. This right here is the 35P. This is the purple shade one. One of my eyeshadows keeps popping out of here. I really do like the shades in this palette. I feel like it is a beautiful purple palette. There are quite a few cool tones, but I just don't get a lot of use out of this, and I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on. And finally, the Jaclyn Hill palette, her collaboration with Morphe. I do really like this palette. This is probably my favorite Morphe palette that I have. I love the shades in here. They're absolutely beautiful. And these are very creamy. I know that they press these a little bit different than the other Morphe shadows, but I believe that the formula is still the same. I do really like these. I do notice that they're a lot more pigmented. They are more creamy, and I'll definitely be keeping this one. Okay, next I want to talk about a more affordable brand that's also an online brand similar to Morphe. Their shadows are a little more expensive, but they are still very budget friendly, and I feel like the quality is so good. And that is Juvia's Place. So this right here is the Masquerade palette, and I have the Masquerade Mini. This does come in this mini size, and it also does come in a larger size. These are such beautiful shades. They are so buttery and so pigmented. A little goes a very long way. I really need to play with this more, but I absolutely love this palette. And it does kind of give me some pops of colors to try to get out of my comfort zone of warm neutrals or pinky mauve colors. So I do really like this, and I would highly recommend this palette. Okay, so now we're going to be getting more into some more higher end, more expensive palettes. And the first one I want to talk about is from Makeup Geek. This was also limited edition. This was the Manny MUA collaboration. I really like this palette. This is what it looks like. You can tell which shade is my favorite that I really dug into. Makeup Geek shadows are really nice. I do want to go ahead and try more from them. This is the only palette that I actually currently own from Makeup Geek, but I do really like these shadows. Okay, another palette I want to talk about is from Jouer. This is the Skinny Dip palette. It is super reflective. This is definitely not a standalone palette. It just contains a bunch of shimmer shades. You can kind of tell which one I've dug into. Of course, it's the pink one. I do really like these, but again, I feel like this is a supplementary palette. You kind of have to add in a matte palette to get a full eye look with it, but I do really like these. They're very easy to use. I don't necessarily have to use a glitter glue with these because they're pressed glitter pigments, but they do have almost like a glue almost built into them, and they are very beautiful. Okay, another palette that I want to talk about is from Pretty Vulgar. This is the Early Bird palette. I love this palette, and it's only $35. For a high-end palette sold at Sephora, $35 is such a good price. This is what the inside of it looks like. I'm going to try not to blind you with the mirror, but the inside of it looks like a bird cage, and it is so cute. I love this. I love these shades. This palette is absolutely perfect. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple Too Faced palettes. I actually don't have that many from Too Faced. I only have 2, and I think I'm actually going to only be keeping one of them. This one right here is no longer available. It was a limited edition collaboration with Vegas Nay, and this is the Stardust palette. These shades are very beautiful. I do really like the formula on these shades. However, I'm just never reaching for this, and I feel like I need to give it to someone who's actually going to get some use out of it, so this one's going to be decluttered. And then here is my Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. These smell so good. They smell like chocolate. This is so adorable. A couple years ago, I bought this as a Valentine's Day present for myself. This isn't going anywhere, even though this does have more cool tone shades in it, and I tend to go for warm tones. I love the formula of these eyeshadows. I love that the pans are in the shape of hearts, and it smells so good. I'll definitely be holding on to this. Okay, next, let's talk about some Tarte eyeshadows. So this first one right here is the Man Eater eyeshadow palette. This one was a limited edition release. Also, Tarte does make a lot of limited edition releases. I think that this is okay. The shades are pretty, but I just feel like I'm not getting enough use out of it, so I am going to go ahead and pass this one on. Next, I'm going to talk about the Tartelette in Bloom palette. So this is what the inside of it looks like, and Tarte shadows do smell quite a bit like vanilla. So this is what the inside of it looks like. This palette is absolutely perfect. Neutral, pinky mauves. I am obsessed. I will definitely be keeping this one. And here is the infamous Tarteist Pro palette. So this got a lot of mixed reviews on YouTube, and honestly, I'm not bothered by the PR thing. I don't really care about that whole drama, but I just don't like this palette. I actually talked about it in my unpopular makeup opinions video, where I talk about makeup that I just don't like. I'll go ahead and link that up in the cards for you. But this is what the inside of the palette looks like. The colors do look fantastic. They look like something I would love. I am never happy with the eye look I come out with these. I feel like a lot of these end up muddling together, and I feel like the quality of these shadows is not the same as the ones in the Tartelette in Bloom, even though they are all supposed to be the Amazonian clay formula. I'm not getting any use out of this, and I need to go ahead and pass it on. Okay, next let's go ahead and talk about my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. I love both of these. So the Modern Renaissance, as you can see, is quite dirty. This is my favorite eyeshadow palette of all time. The shades in here are absolutely perfect. I love how creamy, soft, and buttery these are. And these do have a lot of fallout. Anastasia shadows do have a lot of fallout, but they are still my favorite formula. I usually do my eyeshadow first anyway, so fallout doesn't really bother me that much. But I adore, adore, adore this palette. If you're going to buy one palette from this video, I would buy this one. I will never get rid of this, and when I hit pan, I'm gonna buy another one. And then another infamous palette, the Subculture palette. I actually really like this. I have a couple different videos talking about this palette, and honestly, I love it. Like I said, I feel like it's just as powdery as the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette, except for maybe the shade Roxy. This one does kick up quite a bit, but really, I don't mind. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I like the formula. I like the shades. I feel like it helps me get out of my comfort zone, and I actually really like this palette. Okay, so the Anastasia formula is probably my favorite eyeshadow formula, but the Lorac formula is definitely a close second. I want to get my hands on as many Lorac shadows as I possibly can. I am obsessed with them. They are so creamy, they are so buttery, and one thing that I love about these is the shimmers and the mattes have the exact same formula. So this is the first one. This is just the little iconic Pro Matte Eyeshadow Palette by Lorac. This is what the inside of it looks like. It's just a really great everyday neutral palette, and it has the exact same Pro formula, and I love, love, love this. I think this is a great staple palette. If you're looking for something high-end that you can use every single day, these are definitely everyday colors, great quality. The next Lorac eyeshadow palette I want to talk about is the Unzipped palette. This is the original Unzipped. There is also an Unzipped Gold. I really like this one, and this one got really good reviews. Those pinky mauve shades that I'm obsessed with. I don't think that this is the same formula as the Lorac Pro formula, but I still think it's really good. However, a lot of people don't like the sister palette to this, which is the Lorac Unzipped Gold. Apparently, those shadows are very crispy, very chunky, and if you're gonna pick up a Lorac unzipped palette, I would definitely go with this one. Another Lorac Pro formula shadow that I am obsessed with is definitely the Lorac Pro 3. This is a great palette for travel. This is what the inside of it looks like. You can see the ones I have really dug into. I love, love, love this palette. Like I said, it is perfect for travel, and the shades are just beautiful. You can really go from a day to night look really easily, and I would highly recommend this one. And my final Lorac Pro palette is my Lorac Mega Pro 3. So this was limited edition last holiday season. However, Ulta and Lorac have brought it back for a limited time. So when this video is going up, you can actually still purchase this if you're interested in it. This is what the inside of it looks like. I love, love, love these shades. I love this formula. So the way that kind of Lorac shadows are set up is the first 2 rows are matte and then the last 2 rows are shimmer. I think this is beautiful. It does have a lot of warm tones in it, but it does also have a few of these cooler tones, and I love this palette. Okay, next, let's talk about Urban Decay. So as I had previously mentioned, I decluttered the Urban Decay Naked 2 and 3. Not a huge fan of those. I have tried the one in college. I had a roommate who used the one, and all 4 of us girls would like get together and just use it at the same time, and it was beautiful. I've just never bought a new one. So the first palette I want to talk about is the Urban Decay Ultimate Basics. This packaging is, of course, amazing. That's really what drew me into this palette when it came out last fall. But I really like these shades. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised at how much I like these shades because they are a little crispier to the touch, but these colors are so beautiful. This is perfect for everyday wear. The next palette I want to talk about was a limited edition holiday palette that came out 2 years ago for Christmas 2015, and this is the Gwen Stefani Urban Decay collaboration. I will never get rid of this. This is one of the first high-end eyeshadow palettes that I ever owned. My mom actually bought this for me for Christmas. I wanted this so badly, and she went to Ulta. She got one of the last ones. My mom is the best. Love you, Mom. But yeah, I will always hold on to this. I do use this occasionally, but like I said, this just has sentimental value to me, and I can't get rid of it. And finally, a newer palette to me is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. This is what the inside of it looks like. I feel like the quality of these shadows are much closer to the original Naked than the Naked 2 and Naked 3. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of those. I am wearing this eyeshadow palette on my eyes today, and I do really like it. It is newer to me, but I would definitely recommend going and picking it up if you love the warm eyeshadow trend. Okay, and just 2 more palettes left to talk about. These are my 2 most expensive eyeshadow palettes that I own, but I think that they're both worth every penny. So this right here is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold Edition palette. So this has actually been limited edition for about the last year, and Huda did announce that she's going to be discontinuing this because they are coming out with a new eyeshadow palette called Desert Sands. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But I love this palette. And again, I feel like this one had a lot of controversy because people didn't like that they had to apply these pressed, didn't like that they had to apply them with their fingers. And honestly, a lot of times with shimmers, whether they're pressed glitters or not, I'm applying them with my fingers to get the best color payoff anyways. So it doesn't really bother me. I know that also a lot of people didn't like the matte shades. For me personally, the mattes build and blend beautifully. And this is like one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes ever. If this is still available, I would highly recommend it, especially if you love these colors and you like pressed glitter. And finally, the most expensive eyeshadow palette I own is from Viseart. I am definitely holding on to this. So this one right here is the Neutral Matte Palette. I do really like this formula. However, it's not my favorite. I would consider buying more Viseart palettes, but like I said, I feel like I like Lorac shadows and Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows, and even the ones from the Huda Beauty palette more than these. I think that these are really good quality mattes, but I don't necessarily think it's worth the $80 price tag. I think that maybe $50 would be better suited for this palette. But if you are thinking about getting one of these and you do want to splurge, I think that the shadows are fantastic quality. Okay guys, so these are the eyeshadow palettes I will be getting rid of. We have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I'm getting rid of 9 of my eyeshadow palettes, which is pretty good for me because like I said, I am a total eyeshadow Like I said, those will be going to friends, and the ones that they don't want, I will go ahead and donate to a shelter or to something like Project Beauty Share. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video and seeing my eyeshadow collection and my mini declutter. If you like this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more content from me in the future, please go ahead and subscribe down below. That way you're notified for future videos from me. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.